that trailer left me speechless. And not in a good way. Like, it left me speechless and without words when it comes to how shockingly shitty it was. It looked like a porn parody, but honestly, a porn parody is giving it too much credit, because a porn parody uh, looked like it would have more of a budget behind it than the Munsters trailer did. Uh, this looked more like some cheap jack horse shit YouTube short that some fan of the Munsters made who had no money. But the thing is, this apparently cost $30 to $40 million. None of that is on the screen. And then if that isn't bad enough, like, it just seems like it completely misses the whole spirit of the Munsters, which is insane considering Rob Zombie is supposedly this massive, huge fan of the Munsters. He's like a super fan, from what I've been hearing. So he should know precisely what the style and what the spirit of the Munsters is, in terms of the style of comedy and so on. But that's not the case here. The acting in this, the way that it's shot, the way that things are set up, it looks like it was directed by Glenn Danzig. It's like the second film that Glenn Danzig did after Veronica. And the production values look so cheap in this. Veronica looked like it cost more and looked like it had better production values. And that's saying a lot, because Veronica had a lot of moments where it looked really cheap. Looked like it had a budget of $5. And like, if the low production values isn't bad enough, it's ugly to look at because of the attempts to try to be Technicolor, but in post-processing, which is just garish. And then you have just absolutely atrocious acting by anyone not named the actor who plays Grandpa. I've seen him in other stuff. Yeah, Daniel Roebuck. He plays the Count. He plays the Grandpa vampire character. But Jeff Daniel Phillips is Herman Munster. No, he looks like Herman, but he sounds just completely off. And Sherry Moon Zombie is Lily Munster. So bad, makes you want to throw up and have diarrhea at the same time. Like, I just vomit out of both orifices because of how genuinely awful she is. She hasn't gotten any better. And you know the only reason why she's in this is because of the fact that she's Rob Zombie's wife. Otherwise, she wouldn't be in this movie, and she wouldn't be acting, period. Because she's fucking atrocious, and she has no talent to speak of, and her presence alone just takes this film to a whole nother level of shit. And yes, I am well aware of the fact that The Munsters was not a show that had amazing acting. It didn't have Emmy Award winners when it comes to the performances. But it's not like the performances as a whole were anywhere near as awful as what is shown in this trailer. At least when it comes to the performances by anyone not named Daniel Roebuck. Because Fred Gwynne, he was fantastic in that show. He had great comic timing. His take on Herman Munster was so endearing and lovable. And he had a lot of charm that he brought to the role. I don't see any of that with Jeff Daniel Phillips in this trailer. He has no real comic timing. And really, a lot of his performance just seems like he's just imitating Fred Gwynne, and he's not making it his own. Yvonne DiCarlo as Lily Munster, she was both beautiful as well as charming in her own way, and she also had a nice sense of comic timing, and she had great chemistry with Fred Gwynne. I don't see any of that chemistry on the screen with Sherry Moon Zombie and Jeff Daniel Phillips. And also, the performances by the cast in the show The Munsters, they played it straight for the most part. They weren't overly hamming things up, except for maybe like a few lines here and there, or a few little quirks from Fred Gwynn as Herman. A lot of the time, though, it was very straightforward, like they were in a normal sitcom. And that's what really made it even funnier. And what you have in the trailer is they're all exaggerated. The performances are so tongue in cheek and so hammy that it seems like they're being directed by Tommy Wiseau, or they're being asked by someone off screen, hey, we want your performance to be more like Tommy Wiseau or Neil Breen. Just make it awkward and make it weird, and that's what what we want, because that's what the Munsters is, and that's not the case at all. None of the performances in the Munsters were this stilted, this stiff, this intentionally tongue-in-cheek and hamming it up and being overly camp. That really is not what at all is going on when it comes to that series. So, yeah, the acting is not absolutely amazing in the series or the original show, but it's just a absolute masterwork, a masterclass of acting compared to the majority of anything in this fucking trailer, that's for sure. A lot of shows back then, especially sitcoms, they didn't have like amazing crazy budgets. They were, just kind of there. They were moderate in terms of the budgets, and that had a certain charm with the original Munsters, though, because it enabled them to kind of work around some things, and there were some moments with the effects where the cheapness of it made things even more kooky, made things even more endearing in their own way. And even calling it campy is maybe not fair to it, because it really was not anything that was intentionally tongue-in-cheek most of the time, or intentionally campy like other shows in that time period. It was more straightforward. It was really, in a lot of ways, it was like Leave It to Beaver, but with monsters. And that's where a lot of its charm and humor came from, is the weird juxtaposition of tone and genre. But in the trailer for the Munsters, it just, none of that's there, and none of the humor is at all funny. Also, I'm not really a big fan of this idea of it being a prequel. A film that's about how Herman met Lily and how Eddie came to be. And it's just one of those things where that whole prequel thing just doesn't interest me at all. I would have rather seen like a Brady Bunch movie approach, where you put these Munsters along with Eddie and have them interact with people in modern day. That would be more interesting to me. I think that would be more fun than a prequel that just seems like it's throwing a bunch of scenes out there that are just the greatest hits of the Munster show, but this time done worse. And yeah, it's just something that doesn't really interest me that much, about Lily finding Herman and then them finding their house. It just sounds boring to me. It's the kind of stuff where maybe in theory it sounds like it might be fun if you're a fan of the Munsters, but in execution it really showcases how thin this idea is. And especially if it's just going to be a lot of greatest hits stuff, and definitely if it's going to be this bad. Now, it could easily be one of those instances where it's just a horrifically bad trailer, and the movie itself is not as bad as the trailer. But I highly doubt it. And even if it was in black and white, it still would be bad. It just wouldn't be as ugly to look at. It wouldn't be as hard on the eyes. But it still would be bad. The bad acting would still be there. The inconsistent tone would still be there. The lack of capturing the genuine spirit of the show, that would still be there. All of that would still be present if this was black and white. So that wouldn't fix the majority of the film's flaws, if you ask me, at least from what I've seen in this trailer. Black and white isn't going to cover up all those blemishes. But, yeah, I mean, if you're looking forward to it, if the trailer looked good to you, good on you. I'm glad that it managed to do something for you, and you're still anticipating this film despite this trailer. But if you're like me and it just turned you off even further on this movie and made your expectations even lower for this film, then yeah, this trailer is just stunning. It's a stunner. It really is. It's one of those things you just can't believe it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it left me speechless because I just could not believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe that a major studio would release a trailer that's this bad with sound editing that's as shitty as it is, with a whole flow when it comes to the way the trailer moves along that's as sluggish as it is. Just a unprofessional looking mess. I just could not believe that the major studio would actually come out with this as a serious way to get people interested in this movie. At least in a positive way. Maybe they knew they had something incredibly awful on their hands, so maybe it was an intentional move, and they thought that was the only way that they were going to get publicity. The only way they're going to get people to watch this trailer or talk about this movie is if they showed how bad it is. And if that's the case, we'll find out soon enough. But if it's not, then you really did not do the fans of the Munsters any favors, let alone Rob Zombie or yourself any favors. Because the buzz around this trailer being so bad, that's going to be rather fleeting. Because you're going to have a lot of people who were indifferent about this film to begin with. Then they're going to see this trailer and then they're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to watch that. I'm going to definitely skip that one because of how bad this trailer is. So you didn't really do yourself a whole lot of favors, because even if that's the case, the amount of viewers you're going to get in terms of people who are going to put their eyes on the screen and watch this train wreck has not increased that much after this trailer. It really has not. So, yeah, what a monstrously bad trailer.